Jacqueline Valdez, and we have our guest today, Zen Fu. And so let everyone know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm an empowered healing coach for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. I'm also a self-defense instructor and an advocate for survivors. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So as far as your story, how did you overcome some of the obstacles that you dealt with? Because I know you're a survivor.
Yeah. Growing up with an abusive dad, abuse has always been a part of my life. And I remember being young, being little, and watching martial arts movies and wanting to be strong like that, and wanting to know how to be able to protect myself. And then when I grew up and I married an abusive man, you know, like a guy very similar to my father, you know, I didn't have my voice for all those years, and I wasn't able to stand up for myself. And when I started training in Kung Fu, that I really blossomed with that.
Wow.
Learning how to physically stand up for myself, being able to, you know, realize that I'm worth protecting and that I don't have to live like that. And then during that time, I ended up going to a domestic violence support group while I was married, and while training in the Kung Fu, and being surrounded with other women who have been through the same kind of thing. And, because at that point, I didn't really see the abuse for what it was. I thought he just had an anger problem. Because my dad was very physically abusive. And, you know, so in my mind, if they're not beating you, it's not abuse, you know? So, you know, I learned about all different types of abuse, the emotional abuse, you know, mental abuse, spiritual abuse, financial abuse, all that stuff. And it really like woke me up. And I was like, well, there's so much more to it than just physical abuse, you know? So,
which people don't know that. And you get so conditioned, I guess you could say, and you get so manipulated, and your confidence is broken down. I was in an abusive marriage, and he was very emotionally physical too, and then also spiritually, and just you feel like you're stuck and you can't get out, and you just don't know how to get out.
And financial abuse is a big one that most people don't talk about. You know, you feel financially stuck in the situation you're at, you know, and abusers have a way of isolating you, you know, getting, you know, so you don't have as much contact with friends and family, and you just get really isolated in that relationship, and it's hard to get out. And then the mind games and the gaslighting.
The gaslighting. Exactly. How would you say, would you give tips to anyone who just feels completely lost and like they can't get out and they don't even know where to begin?
Support groups. So you can look in your area. There's usually some sort of a crisis place, like a crisis center or a domestic violence center somewhere in your area where you can see them, you know, in person. There's also support groups online as well. Like I have a group is for survivors as well. So to be able to, so to be able to be around like other people that understand it, and can let you know that like you're not crazy, you know, like this stuff that you're experiencing and these emotions that you're experiencing are real and they're valid. And you know, just to be with other people.
And that's the thing too, like you said, it's important to be with other people. And when you're in an abusive relationship, you become isolated, and there's a lot of gaslighting that does go on. And so you kind of lose your friends, close ones, family. And so it's important to have someone that you can talk to, even if it's not blood relative.
And sometimes it's easier with people that you don't necessarily know well, you know, that they're not in your immediate family or circle, because a lot of times with abusers is they're great on the outside with everybody. They will hold it together. They're super charming. They're charismatic. They will bend over backwards and help other people. So that's what the outside sees. So you know, when they come home and they just let loose on you and your family, like your you know, your immediate family, they don't, and when you talk about it, they won't always believe you sometimes.
Yeah.
They'll be like, what are you talking about? He's so nice to me. You know,
Yeah,
oh, he
that's very
helped me.
true.
You do, yeah. So to be able to get outside of that, where people don't know him and have their own idea of who he is, you
Okay.
know, that can help.
Okay. How long did it take you for you to get out of the situation and then to bounce back and find yourself?
Oh gosh. Well, I was with him for a total of 16 years.
Okay.
And so, you know, I'm still working on my healing with that, you know.
Right.
That's the thing, like healing
Right.
never really ends.
Yes.
It just there's layers to healing. So when I started training in Kung Fu 10 years ago.
Wow.
And then shortly after that, I started doing, I was going to the domestic violence support group. So I think I was going to the support group on and off for about 2 years.
Okay.
I didn't leave right away. You know, I kept trying to make my marriage work. I kept going to counseling, you know, and doing everything that I could to keep the family together. Yeah. So it took a while.
Okay. So people have to just really be patient with themselves and not be hard on themselves and just know that you're going to keep going through the process. I mean, years later too, with myself, it was in 2000 that I tried to break up and he was still following me, refused divorce. And then, you know, I kind of took some of my trauma from my last relationship into future relationships. And so that's always a lesson too. And I'm trying to remind myself, you know, to keep healing, like you said.
Yeah. And, you know, there's no right and wrong way of healing. It's different for everyone. So you get to give yourself grace on, sorry, my screen keeps like dimming. I don't want it to like close out.
Mine was doing that yesterday.
Okay. So if I keep going like that, that's fine. Yeah, like it takes it on an average about 7 times of trying to leave before actually leaving. And, you know, the most dangerous time in a relationship is when you leave. So, you know, I kept trying to make it work. And then it was like towards the end, you know, he was getting really violent. And then it was like, I need to make a choice. I get to love myself and my children more than this guy right here that is causing me, you know, anguish and terror, you know.
And you deserve it. You deserve love. Everyone deserves love and to be happy and to be appreciated.
Yeah. And, you know, and I think like, especially if you have any kind of a background in abuse, you know, even before something like that, there's a lot of worthiness issues and self-love, you know, and even if you don't have that kind of a background, they tend to bring your self-worth down. So you don't necessarily see like, oh, I deserve better and I deserve more and I don't deserve to live in fear and I don't deserve to, you know, be crying every night and feeling alone and stuff like that. You know? So, yeah, you know, like I broke up with him 7 years ago. And it's been a journey, you know, doing counseling, you know, and then I started training as an advocate for survivors, you know,
I love that.
Yeah, for domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. And so I got trained as an advocate on that level. I kept doing my Kung Fu. I started teaching self-defense. And it was like, that's a long story of how like I got into that, but you know, I truly know that it was my calling from God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're a vessel.
Yeah. And it was I got into this whole thing because of desperate prayer. After a fight one night with him, and I left, you know, and I was just praying like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know what to do. And then just like out of nowhere, I felt like God just spoke to my heart and said, you're going to teach self-defense. And
that's so amazing. That you're helping empower other people and give them their strength.
Yeah. You know, the importance of listening to that inner voice is huge because
Yes.
I was so broken at that point and I was open enough to listen.
Yeah.
And when that came, like I was like crying and then I heard that inside and I literally stopped. I looked up and I started laughing. And I
Oh,
was like, what? Like I can't even defend myself, you know?
yeah.
And then I felt like you
Wow.
said, you're going to learn. And I just
That's
felt like a
amazing.
peace. Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
started like within 2 weeks I started training, and
Wow.
then well I did MMA stuff, and then I transitioned a few months later
Okay.
into Kung Fu, and then a
Okay.
few months after that I started going to this domestic violence support group, and at
Right.
first I felt like I didn't belong, and I wasn't talking, and I was just listening, you know, because they were coming in with bruises and stuff like that, and like
Yeah.
these horrific stories, which I understood from having been through that with my dad.
Uh-huh.
But I felt like I didn't have a voice at that moment because
Yeah.
I wasn't going through that at that time. You know, it was the gaslighting and the emotional stuff and the breaking things and, you know, punching holes in walls and stuff like
Right.
that. Um, but then when I started talking, they were like, that is abuse, you
Yeah.
know? And then it really opened my eyes. And then I remember I was sitting there one day and was listening to these ladies talk. And all of a sudden, again, that inner voice said,
Wow.
these are the people that you're going to be teaching. And
Wow.
then everything just clicked. It was like,
It just fell into
I,
place.
yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, because before I didn't
Wow.
quite understand the whole self-defense thing. I just did it because that's what I felt called to do.
Right.
And then it was like, oh, okay, I get to heal
Wow.
and help train other women who have been through the same thing as me.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So as far as like the physical training that you do too, is there a tip or something that you could let people know to keep themselves protected?
Yeah. Number one is follow your gut. Follow
Okay.
your gut instinct.
Yeah.
We all have that inner voice, that inner instinct. Society has taught us to ignore it and push it down,
Yeah.
and you know that's getting us hurt. You know, so if there's something inside you that is telling you like the situation isn't right, I'm feeling
Okay.
uncomfortable, you have permission to leave that situation if at all possible.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, and and just trust yourself and trust that inner voice. And you know, I obviously I'm an instructor, so I
Right.
recommend everybody train.
Right.
Yeah, um,
Because you
but
can defend
yeah.
yourself any size,
Mhm.
any, shape, any strength. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you know the right stuff.
right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like technique is everything, you
Okay.
know, and belief in yourself, and that comes from training, you know,
Right.
and the muscle memory and stuff like that from continuous training.
Right.
But you know, you can absolutely protect yourself even if you're smaller than whoever it is that you're protecting yourself against. It's just knowing like the right
Right.
places to target and stuff like that. Like
Okay.
I would never try and compete against a guy's big muscular arms. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like you go for like everybody has their weak
Weakness.
spots on their body.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the eyes. The eyes are super sensitive. The
Okay.
throat is super sensitive. The groin is sensitive.
Wow.
But don't always assume that the groin will work. Sometimes it just pisses guys off, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I recommend before going for their groin is kicking their knee so
Right.
that they can't run after you.
Wow.
You know, stuff like that. Learning where like the pressure points like
Okay.
on their bodies and stuff.
Wow.
So it doesn't take a lot of pressure
Right.
on a point to cause enough pain for them to. So the goal is not to go
Wow.
3 rounds with somebody.
Right.
And that's why I stopped doing MMA because it was like you know, I'm not interested in a continuous fight. I just want to get away.
Right.
So it's a matter of doing what you can to stop them in the
Okay.
moment where they're focused on the pain
Yeah.
and not you so that you can get away, you know?
Right.
So it's not like, you know, getting on top of them and beating the crap out of
Yeah.
them. Because at that point,
Stick it
you're
out.
the aggressor and you can get in trouble for that, you know? So it's just a matter of getting away.
What about for a situation where it's someone that you might know them and it's a sexual assault and you are intoxicated or you are not able to, I guess, defend yourself where you're you know, kind of out of it, I guess, or passed out.
Yeah.
You know?
That's really common. Actually, you're more likely to be assaulted by somebody that you know rather than someone you don't know. So, with that, the thing with, well, any kind of assault, you know, whatever you do in that moment to be able to survive it and get out of it is okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like when we're put in a situation, we either react fighting or, you know, the fight, flight, or freeze. You know, you've heard of that. Either the natural reaction is to fight, or it's to run and flee out of the situation, or it's to freeze.
Right.
The most common is freezing. So if you end up freezing in that situation and your mind just goes blank and you don't do anything, and you're in that moment, all you can do is just go along with it or whatever, that's okay. You know, like if you come out of it on the other side and you're alive,
that's
and
true,
you're able to get help, give yourself grace with that too. And I've been in that situation, and that's another reason why I started training, because I didn't want to freeze again. Yeah. But just know that's very common. And
well, I feel like it's very common. Talking to a lot of other people, I'm finding out it's like really 3 out of 5 people that have been through something like this.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're able to get away, then by all means, do what you got to do to get away. If you can't get away for whatever reason, and you know, and you get through it, you know, that's okay too. And then you have options. You know, you can, you know, especially if you're intoxicated and stuff, you're not always able to get away, to be honest. You know, or if they date, rape, drug, you know, do that date, rape, drug. There is nothing you can do. You know, and but you have choices once that, you know, once it's over, you know, you can go to the Rape Crisis Center, and you can get help, and you can get the rape kit done, and you can choose to press charges if you want. And if you don't feel comfortable pressing charges, that's okay too. Yeah, because
you have to forgive yourself either way.
Yeah, because you know, it is totally up to you how you want to handle it. You know, and no one can tell you what to do. Yeah. So whatever is right for you is right for you. And like when you go to rape crisis centers and they have advocates there for you, they're not there to tell you what to do. They're there to hold your hand, tell you what your options are, and that's your chance to have your voice be heard. You know, so whatever you choose is totally up to you, and you can get your power back in that moment, whatever that looks like for you.
I love that. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell the viewers?
Just that you're worth it, that you're loved and you're supported, and that if you are in an abusive situation, or, you know, even if, like, if you just know that whatever you're going through is not quite right. Yeah. But you can't really put a finger on it, and you can't really identify what exactly it is, that, you know, to listen to that, and that your feelings are valid, and to reach out for support, you know, whether it's you know, anyone in your close circle, reach out to me. You know, I'm always here, I'm available. And, you know, you don't have to go through this alone. There are safety plans if you need a safety plan. You know, there's a lot of options for you out there. So this doesn't have to be your life if you don't want it to be.
Oh, I love that. Definitely. Yeah. Everyone just has to listen to their gut, and then just really know that you're worth it, and seek help out. And it's not the end of your story. And, you know, many people come back from it. And I love that you're doing, you know, taking your tragedy and helping others now and stuff like that. What do you want to be remembered by?
That I chose to use my pain for a positive purpose to help others.
I love it.
And,
Thank you so much.
And you all have the same opportunity as well. We all have a voice, and we all get to be heard. And, you know, whatever you're going through right now, you can use that to help others. And sometimes that's the kind of push that some people need. I know it was for me, like we tend to not do stuff for ourselves, but we'll do things for other people, you know? So it's like, okay, if you have a message that will help other people, then okay, then use your voice to be able to help other people, you know, and you get to do your healing along the way. And in helping other people, it does help you
heal.
Yeah.
Very true.
Beautiful.
Oh, I love that. I could talk to you all day.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and for inspiring others and all that good stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.